Are you tired of sitting on the sidelines, waiting to buy your next real estate deal? Analysis paralysis is real. In this episode, we are going to explain what analysis paralysis is and how you can overcome it to buy your next real estate deal.
Welcome back to the Happy House Hacking Podcast. We're your hosts, Owen and Camille Schwaegerle. We are realtors, we are investors, and we are happy house hackers dedicated to helping you navigate the path towards home ownership. So today we are going to talk about what is analysis paralysis, how to identify it, and most importantly, how to overcome it.
Okay. So, number one, what is analysis paralysis? Analysis paralysis is when you have information overload, where you are bombarded with so much information, you can't even make a decision. And I kind of think of it as the paradox of choice. Have you ever been to like Trader Joe's, going shopping, you're trying to make a decision about something as simple as cheese? If you ever go to Trader Joe's, their cheese section is so overwhelming. There are so many choices. And I just remember standing there thinking like, which cheese am I going to choose? Oh my gosh. I mean, there's Gouda, there's goat cheese, there's, cheese soaked in wine. Which cheese am I going to make? I'm going to make a bad choice. Oh my gosh. If I don't choose the right cheese, I'm going to miss out. And then it's so hard to choose that you sometimes don't even choose cheese. You just keep walking on and you miss out. And the reality is, it doesn't matter which cheese you choose. You just got to start tasting it, trying them out, seeing which cheese you like. And so in real estate, the same thing can happen where there are so many options. There's so much information just being bombarded on people today that they're overwhelmed and they clam up and they can't make a decision when it comes to buying a house.
Right. And I like to help it identify when someone is experiencing analysis paralysis. And oftentimes, the person that is spending a lot of time online house shopping, they're looking at Zillow, they're looking at Redfin, they're calculating mortgages. Maybe they're even going to go look at the home. And then they end up saying, oh, well, the numbers don't work out. So therefore, this isn't for me. Or the price isn't right at what it's currently listed at. So I would pursue it and consider the property at a different price. The ones that are in the market for a long time and haven't ended up pulling the trigger or writing legitimate offers are the ones who are experiencing analysis paralysis.
Totally. And I mean, there are people we met with 5 years ago in real estate who still haven't bought a house. And sometimes it's due to just being overwhelmed and not knowing what you want and not making that clear plan and timeline. So analysis paralysis is real. And if you really unpack it, like what is at the root of analysis? What is it, Camille?
Well, it really is fear, right? It comes down to fear. You are too scared to make a decision and take that leap of faith. It is expensive buying a house, especially if you've been saving money for years and years. We're talking maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars you've saved up in order to make a purchase. That's a big deal. Of course, there's going to be some fear and some maybe potential buyer's remorse for a little bit, but you need to think about the end game. And if it's not a good purchase on the front end, then of course, don't go for it. But if it actually is a good purchase, then go for it and go with it all your might in order to try to get it. And sometimes that fear is not just rooted in fear of money and spending your large chunk of money, but it comes down to other people's opinions. And maybe you are getting opinions from people who aren't real estate investors, or they're in a totally different stage of life than you, and their financial goals are going to be different than yours. And so they're putting their opinions right in front of you, and you are scared to disappoint them.
Right. And I've heard it said before, fear stands for false expectations appearing real. And so when we are allowing fear to cripple us from making decisions that are for our financial best interests, it's allowing something that you've conjured in your head, some sort of worst case scenario, some sort of oh my gosh, if I buy this property, I'm going to lose out on other property. And the reality is it's just like the cheese. You're not going to miss out. If you buy a house now, you're just going to get in the game with owning a home and starting your wealth creation journey. And so it's not going to be as big of an issue as long as you're still making an educated decision and buying a property and following the fundamentals.
Absolutely. And worst case is, okay, you sell in a few years, right? You sell, you move on. If you are buying in California, you are absolutely getting equity every year that you own it just through appreciation. So it will make sense. Maybe you end up selling in 5-10 years and you buy something else and you move on. But the reality is you have to get in now or else you're going to miss the boat.
Yeah.
And we don't want you to end up missing the boat just because of fear.
Definitely. And on average, nationwide, they've done studies. And what they've found is that if you own a home and you live in it for 3 years, that's it. Your return on investment would be greater owning that property than renting for 3 years, saving the amount of money between the difference in the mortgage and investing it at a 10% rate of return. So essentially what that means is if you buy and hold onto your property for 3 years, you would be in a much better financial position than if you continued to rent.
Exactly. That it's really a no-brainer. If you have the ability to buy, make the purchase, you can always sell later down the line, but more often than not, you won't need to sell because you bought in California and it's a good investment on the front end. So let's talk about strategies for decision making, because sometimes what we see is you're just paralyzed because you don't even know what your criteria is. So how can we identify the right strategy in order to help with the decision making?
So first, what you got to do is set clear goals. You have to know, what are you looking for? What is your goal here? Are you looking for a primary home, a house hack, a second home, a vacation home? You need to know what it is that you're going for. And then you need to get crystal clear on that criteria. Really build it out, flush it out.
Right. Yeah. We've said it before, that crystal clear criteria. You want to make sure that you and your partner, whoever you're buying the property with, a business partner or your husband or wife, that they are also on the same page as you when it comes to making the purchase. And that way you have that sounding board. Well, this property might meet our criteria, except it's in this location. Is that a deal breaker for us or not? Because that wasn't our top 3 locations. Maybe it is. And then you know, okay, that's not for us. And then you move on. Or you can make some changes and say, well, it meets all these other criteria that we've set, so therefore I'm going to go for it.
Right. And due to the overwhelming amount of information that we have, you can go online, read forums. You can look at every single side of a situation, a story, and then be overwhelmed by it. And that's why it's so important you have the clear decision-making criteria. And you need to be able to make these decisions quicker because things in the market are moving very quickly. And so that's something I think we really need to see more of is, okay, go with your gut. You need to follow your intuition. What's your gut say? Plus, what does the kind of the information point towards? Is this property a yes or no? And then follow that a lot quicker.
Right, right. And I go back to, if you are analyzing a property and you want someone else's opinion, whether it's a professional or a personal opinion, just make sure that you are seeking advice from someone who A, has your financial best interests at heart too, and B, is experienced in what you're looking for. If you're getting advice from someone who's never purchased a home and they're 60 years old, okay, well, that's probably not the best person. But if you're getting advice from someone who's in their 60s and has decades and decades of home ownership experience, well, then, yeah, they're an excellent resource to talk to. So it's really critical that you identify who you're getting advice from. So that way, when you are evaluating whether or not this property is right for you, you know the people you're asking are educated enough to help guide you in the right direction.
Along with that, this market we're in today is completely different than the market we were in a year ago, 5 years, 10 years ago. And so having that fresh perspective, that fresh data and insights from mentors or people who are actively doing real estate transactions today is going to be even more valuable than sometimes people who haven't bought a property in 20 plus years.
Right. That's so true. And if you are looking at a house hack or an investment property, there are other factors to consider than just buying a single family home that you're going to live in as your forever home. So, you need to factor in the appreciation, the tax write-offs, the appreciation of rent that you're going to get over the years as you steadily raise rent. So there's way more to it. And so you make a good point. It's really critical that you're getting advice from someone who's doing exactly what you want to do. Yeah.
Right. And so do your research. We're not saying don't do research. You need to do it, but make it efficient.
Yes.
You want to make those decisions quicker because things are moving quickly in today's market. And then also just you can mitigate the risks by having a plan in place. And like Camille said earlier, the worst thing that can happen, maybe you have to sell it in a few years and move on to another property.
And maybe you just break even or only make a little bit of money. And there were probably red flags to begin with in the beginning on the property. But more often than not, you just have to take action and get yourself in position by lining up your team. Who is your realtor to guide you in this process? Who is your lender? What is your strategy? Are you house hacking? Is this a second home? Is this a primary residence? Who are the people in your life that are going to help you achieve this goal? So get into position to take action because this market absolutely moves quickly and you got to be ready to pounce on the right property.
So in closing, really, there's 4 action steps you can take today to help you on overcoming analysis paralysis and getting into the market on your next home or investment property. So step number 1 is create your crystal clear criteria. Sit down with your partner and vision cast. What is it that we're looking for? What do we need in that next home?
Yeah, and that includes location, price, the type of property that you're looking for, the condition. Are you wanting something that's totally turnkey or are you willing to put in some sweat equity on a fixer-upper? Those are big rocks that you can't change on the front end of a purchase. So you want to make sure that you are all on the same page before moving forward.
Then step 2 is create a timeline. And some people we met with 5 years ago, they haven't taken action yet. And I think it's because they didn't put a timeline and say, you know what, this is the year. I want this to be the year we're going to buy a house. Once you put a timeline on something, have you ever noticed how much more quickly you get it done? Think back to high school or a class where you were given a deadline. And then all of a sudden the paper's due tomorrow. And it's like, I got to get it done. And then you're writing that paper all night long and you got it done by the time it was due the next day.
Yep. And that's part of making SMART goals, which we've talked about in previous episodes. You need to make sure your goals are time bound in order for them to get done. So if this is the year you are going to buy an investment property, well, we need to be committed to that. And the concept of, well, I'm waiting for a deal or for the right property, that is so subjective. And truly, any property that makes sense for you and meeting your goals, even if it only hits 80% of your criteria, more often than not, it's going to make sense for you. And part of the house hacking process includes keeping this property, right, that you purchase in a few years once you move out and using it as an investment. So there's really not a wrong way to go about buying in California, as long as you are prepared that it doesn't overstretch you and that the property makes sense on the front end. Now, we're seeing today, properties are not cash flowing immediately. That's just the reality. You are not going to buy a house, but maybe a duplex, triplex, and have it start making money for you right away. You'll probably break even or pay a little bit out of pocket in order to make it work. That's just how it is with the rates being what they are, with maybe buying a property that has lower rents to begin with. And you need to put in the work in order to see those returns in a few years. And that's where it's really going to pay off for you.
Yeah.
3 years is going to go by anyway.
Yeah.
You might as well be owning a house during those 3 years.
Totally. So with that time sensitivity, you want to create mini milestones, action items that you can achieve and win. And so examples would be set an appointment to meet with a realtor. Here we are. We're here anytime you want. Send us a message. We can set up a consultation and get you started on your house hacking journey. Set up an appointment to meet with a lender. And those 2 steps, they're mini milestones. As you accomplish those things, you're going to get step by step closer to buying that next house. So break it up, put a timeline on it and say, this is the year. I'm going to meet with a realtor this month and we're going to get this thing started.
Yep. And that's an easy thing to do, is just set up those consultations. Now, step number 3, when it comes to taking action, is going to be to change your mindset, right? Everything that we do comes down to mindset. So adopt a mentality of positivity, of being excited, right? And if you are noticing that you are looking at homes or you're thinking about real estate and you have that negative mentality going on, dig deeper into that, because there's probably something else going on and maybe this isn't your year to make a move. But change your mindset if you can to be able to reach the goal that you want to set out for yourself. So do some soul searching. I know that's kind of a deep thing when it comes to just buying and selling, but it is critical, and your mindset is going to change what you're going to end up doing. So have a mindset of you need to fight in order to win the deal, in order to fight for your financial future. You're not going to get an amazing property for below the asking price today. You're just not. Homes are selling for at least 100% of the asking price. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
There's no way around it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And along with that, adopt a good enough mentality. This house is good enough. It's not maybe a 10 out of 10 or an 11, but it doesn't need to be, especially if it's a starter home. Your first home is a starter home for a reason. It's not going to be the perfect dream home forever. It just gets you in the game, gets you start building wealth, having equity, which you can then use to upsize or buy another property later. So have that mindset. It's good enough, and make that decision quicker. Like once you find out, okay, this is a deal. There's a lot of people lining up. There's a lot of showings. There's a lot of cards on the counter. You know that this property is going to sell quickly. You need to make a decision quickly and go in strong. And if you're not ready to enter a dogfight, because that's what it is right now on the market, then maybe this isn't the time for you to buy. So you have to have that right mindset. If I want to play the game, I have to play to win. Otherwise, I'm just fooling around.
That's right. And that leads us to the last action step, which is to not just start writing offers, but to start writing legitimate offers.
Yeah.
If your heart is not in the offer that you're writing, why are you writing it? Why are you writing it? You have to be writing legitimate offers, or else there's no point in even trying to pursue or entertain the idea. So write legitimate offers where you are putting your very, very, very best foot forward the first time, because there is no guarantee of a counter offer. Most sellers who are getting multiple offers are just choosing the highest and best because that buyer came in the most serious the first time around. They're not going to entertain all the other people trying to get it for less than just to see. And if you're a buyer who is saying, well, I'd like to see if they'll counter me first and then I'll go back, you're going to lose. I'm just going to tell you right now, you're going to lose. And there's no point in even trying to pursue it. So write legitimate offers every single time you come across a property that meets your criteria.
I know we get a lot of feedback on some of our listings where the seller is overwhelmed by the multiple offers we brought them. And then the seller says, I'm going to choose that one. It's the highest, it's the best, it's the easiest for me. Let's choose that one. And we say, well, why don't we do a multiple counter offer? We can get the other people maybe to come up. Nope, I don't want to deal with it. I'm tired of it. Too many showings. Just sell the house, take the offer. And then we have to tell all the other buyers and their agents, I'm sorry, but your offer wasn't chosen. Then the agents say, what? My client wanted it so bad. They were willing to come up higher. Why didn't you counter us? Well, we explained that to the seller, and the seller refused and said, nope, we're taking the highest and best.
And that buyer should have come up the first time.
Right. And that's what we do as a listing agent. We always say, look, there's multiple offers. Please bring your highest and best. Put your best foot forward because you may not get a counter.
Yep. Exactly. So those are the action steps we want to leave you with today. If you are struggling with analysis paralysis, let us know. We've been there too. There have been times where we have overanalyzed a deal and we've let it go past us. And that made us that much more prepared for the next time to pounce and put ourselves in position. So it's a real thing that affects everybody. Just don't let it cripple you, especially for years and years and years. So if you truly have the desire and the goal to make a move this year, then let's talk about making it happen. Let's make that a reality instead of just sitting in dreamland. Let's make it a reality.
Yes. So please reach out to us. We're serious. You can send us a message, find us on social media at the Schwaegerle team or on YouTube, and comment or send us a message saying, hey, I would like to take that next step. I want to sit down and create a game plan. That could be the first mini milestone that you take on your path towards happy home ownership. So please like, subscribe, follow us, and stay tuned for the next episode. And we'll talk to you soon.